Uso's fading. Gunther's got it locked in. Jey Uso with nowhere to go. Jey Uso doesn't have anything left, I don't believe. Referee Chad Patton gonna check him. It's over. Gunther advances to the finals. He'll face Randy Orton or Tama Tonga on Saturday.
Here is your winner, Defending General Gunther!
Back here on Busted Open, Dave LaGreca, Bully Ray, talking Monday Night Raw with you. Give us a call, 877-344-4893. Calls are already coming in, Bully, so we will get to the nation for sure and find out what they thought about Monday Night Raw last night. And before we get into the main event itself, Bully, I'm loving the tournament. I think the tournament's worked for both Monday Night Raw and for SmackDown, and it's made King and Queen of the Ring a big deal. Bully, you said it a few weeks ago. Usually when we see these, I wouldn't even call it PLEs, these special events from Saudi, it's usually like we were used to kid. It's a show for the prince, right? I don't think that's the case anymore. Major ramifications. They've done a great job building this show this weekend. The tournament is taking a lot of time on both Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, and whoever wins the King and Queen of the Ring, Bully, because of this build, it's going to be a big deal. And I'm glad that this is once again a big deal because 15, 20 years ago, it was a big deal.
This subscribes to my personal opinion, my theory about how everything should mean something. When Vince was in charge, the Saudi show was an a la carte, glorified live event. The Prince wanted to put on a show, got to help pick some matches, paid for this guy, paid for that guy, and we built it up as something that was going to be a big deal. And normally it was an okay show, but it really didn't mean anything. This King of the Ring means something. We have a main event with Cody and Logan. Logan has taken his championship off of the table. It's for Cody's undisputed championship. We have the finals of the King of the Ring and the Queen of the Ring. The thought of possibly getting Gunther versus Randy Orton alone. Take my money.
Yeah, and we're going to get into the main event because it actually went a different way than I thought it was. And that's the beauty of it, is when you get to near the finals, you don't want to make it too predictable. And I feel like they have done a good job of not making this predictable. One of my problems in the WWE in the past when they would have tournaments like this, Bully, you could see what the finals were going to be from a mile away. I really don't think that was the case with this tournament so far.
If that's the way you felt, that's fine. I mean, you need to have a final. If you take a look at where the finals were going to take place in Saudi, and Saudi has to be a bit of an event. It's got to be a bit bigger show. You're going to expect your top stars to be in the finals. I'm not surprised that Jey Uso is not in the finals. I think that as well as things have been going for Jey, I think the eventual plans are back into the bloodline, back next to his brother, back where he should be. He's had a hell of a nice little run so far. I know you want to say something. Go ahead.
No. Go, please, go.
The thought of Gunther on one side of the table, Randy on the other side, that is an absolute dream scenario where you have no clue who's winning this one. You can't just say, oh, yeah, Gunther. Oh, really? Gunther's just going over on Randy Orton like that? If you win the King of the Ring, you have to win definitively, right? You can't win by no BS kind of finish. Gunther has to either pin Randy Orton, and I don't care how he pins him, whether he hits his finish clean, whether he gets a roll-up, whether he chokes him out, whether Randy taps out. That's if Gunther goes over. But it has to be a definitive victory. Vice versa on the other side. Are they really going to hand Gunther this loss after he just lost the Intercontinental Championship? This one is not easy to call. I'm going to side with Gunther. I'm going 51-49. Gunther goes over because Randy can eat a loss. Randy can eat a Stone Cold Steve Austin not tapping out with the Crimson Mask type of loss. Gunther's trajectory needs to continue in that upward. You're killing me, kid. You're laughing at me. Go ahead, talk.
No, and I'm not laughing at you. I'm actually smiling because I'm really into what we saw last night, what we're going to see Friday night, and what we're going to see on Saturday. And here's why. Because already you're saying it's Randy Orton and Gunther. It could be Tama Tonga, and that's why.
Seriously?
No,
I mean, but wait. Time out on the field. Gunther versus Tama Tonga. Gunther should kill him.
He should, but again, you're also talking about the Bloodline story. That's why, honest to God, going into last night, I thought it was going to be Jey Uso who was going to win. And I thought it was going to be Jey Uso and Tama Tonga. And I thought that was going to be your match at King and Queen of the Ring on Saturday because of what you just said about the Bloodline. What do we think is going to happen if there's going to be a War Games at Survivor Series? Bloodline versus Bloodline. That would have been a first great plant the seed moment at King and Queen of the Ring in May. And what a story that would take you throughout the rest of the spring into the summer until we got into the fall. Like, I don't think anybody would be complaining, Bully, if it was Jey Uso and Tama Tonga in the finals at King and Queen of the Ring.
I mean, Jey Uso versus Tama Tonga definitely would have been interesting within the Bloodline story, but I think you got to give them something a little bigger. Gunther versus Randy, that's what I'm going with. Like, I can sit here and dissect as why. Come on, man. Gunther and Randy, you want to talk about, dream matches, about, AEW that puts on these dream matches. I'm into this dream match between Gunther and Randy Orton, not for moves, because of the psychology. I'm a huge mark for Gunther's psychology. And I'm actually less of a mark for Gunther's psychology in the WWE than I was for Gunther back in the day. Maybe when he was in, NXT Europe or whatever the hell it was called. I definitely liked it better. Gunther has a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Different. Unconventional. Thank you very much, sir. He has a very unconventional psychology. Put that up against Randy Orton, who is top of the food chain, best in the world, blah, blah, blah. This has the potential to be so good based on the nuance and the in-between. It's not even about the big moves of the match. It's not about the RKOs and the chops and the German suplexes. It's going to be about the nuance of how they get to where they get. That's why I'm really interested in this match. These guys are very, very smart, and I wish the people could see. I have the biggest smile on my face right now talking about this match, because these are the kind of professional wrestling matches that I truly enjoy. I know I'm going to get action. I know Gunther's going to beat the shit out of Randy Orton. I know Randy's going to hate getting chopped to death, which is going to make him fight back even harder. It's going to be such a chess match in there. And like I said, just excited for it.
Well, listen, it doesn't surprise me, Bully, because, especially after listening to Busted Open After Dark every Wednesday, I know how big of a fan you are of AEW. Might I even say lately you kind of been kissing AEW's ass, which is fine. You're a fan. See, I kind of like my wrestling a little bit different, Bully. And I understand your generation, the microwave generation, Bully. You want what you want, and you want it now. You want that fantasy matchup. I get it. But see, I kind of like a little bit of storytelling when it comes to my wrestling. And the story that I think that Jey Uso and Tama Tonga would have been able to do, to me, is more of my liking. But I get it. I understand you and your generation. You want that fantasy matchup. You're a big AEW guy, Bully. I know it because I listen to Busted Open After Dark. You want that fantasy matchup. You love the Forbidden Door. I know you got that marked on your calendar. And I'm glad that you're going to get that matchup, that fantasy matchup at King and Queen of the Ring. I love that you're going to get Gunther against Randy Orton. That's awesome. That's fine. But, I like a little bit of storytelling, a little bit of a slow burn, something that you can actually have go through the fall from the summer, starting here in the spring. I would have liked Tama Tonga and Jey Uso, but I get it, Bully. I get it.
You never questioned what happened to the cocaine and whores, did you? One day your cocaine and whores just stopped appearing, right?
It ran out.
Where do you think it goes now? It goes to me because now I'm the AEW shill.
You are such an AEW shill. The moment Tony Kahn comes on Busted Open After Dark, oh my God. I've been listening to the show. Here's the problem.
Can we be real serious for 1 second? And I know we're having fun with this, but I do want to be serious.
Sure.
All right. I genuinely want Tony to come on After Dark. I'm kind of over this whole, Tony's mad at Busted Open or Busted Open is mad at Tony, because we're not mad at Tony at all. We genuinely like Tony. We don't have a problem with Tony. So when I send out an invitation to Tony Khan on social media and I answer one of his tweets and I'm like, hey, come on the show. We'll talk about whatever you want. We'll talk about Fulham. Hey, I'll even let you choose the band of the night. This is an olive branch that I am extending. I have zero animosity with this man as a human being. I might question your product at times, but I've questioned every product on the planet, including the WWE, who I just about was burying 3 years ago, talking about how I would fall asleep during the show, and on average of 3 times on a Monday night. So listen, AEW fans, I really want Tony to come on. I want to have a good time with him on After Dark. I want to talk about some of the things that we saw on Dynamite, maybe ask him a question or two that we do scratch our heads about, and maybe he can give us a good answer. Maybe talk about what the Eddie Kingston injury and how he felt about that, how he felt about bringing Darby Allin back. Just some good, fun pro wrestling conversation between Tony and myself. It's very, very genuine. It's not a setup. It's not so I can take a shot or ask him a weird question. So I just wanted to get that there. Now back to cocaine and horse.
No, really quick, because I want to follow up on that, if I may, Bully, because I think you're right. I think people believe you're being sarcastic when you're being sincere. Like, I mean, and it also shows to me that people aren't listening. They're using clickbait, or they're taking a certain quote or a certain line. If you do listen to Bully on Busted Open After Dark, I mean, it's been, I would say, 75% praise of that show usually on a weekly basis. I love the fact that Busted Open is being labeled as like AEW haters, when 2 years ago I was being called an AEW shill. Like, it's like, you can't, and now I'm a WWE shill. Why? Because I was a fan of Cody Rhodes and I bought into the story that was going into WrestleMania 40. That's what you're supposed to do as a wrestling fan. So I think I would love it to get Tony Khan on, just because, to put all that bullshit to rest, because, and you know what, Bully, this could be a majority of our show tomorrow, because you just mentioned 5 years of AEW. That's a milestone, 5 years. And you look at that first ever Double or Nothing in Las Vegas, which I was at, and then you look at what's going to happen this weekend. Those 5 years had a lot of ups and downs, but Bully, I think you would agree, for a young company, far more ups than downs. The way that you and I were talking about the landscape of pro wrestling in 2018, when we were talking about that first ever All In outside of Chicago, where you and I are having a discussion, could another wrestling company outside the WWE, could they possibly sell out a 10,000 seat arena? That was a discussion less than 6 years ago. And then for a while, we were seeing that happening on a weekly basis. And we actually saw AEW have a show where they had over 70,000 fans in attendance. Bully, in 2018, did you ever think that there would be a show outside of the WWE where there would be 75,000 fans in attendance?
No. No,
Absolutely not.
and we gave them their props for it because, and I don't give a shit how that you got your 75,000 people in there, whether you sold 60 and you papered 15 or you sold, it doesn't matter. There was still a significant amount of people, and that was a major, major accomplishment for AEW. And one of the other things I want to address, I know we're jumping back and forth here, but that's why I enjoy when it's me and you, because we can jump back and forth and we'll get right back to Raw. A lot of the banter on social media between the AEW toxic fan and the WWE toxic fan is about, yeah, but the whataboutism. Like, oh, okay, well, this happened in AEW today, but what about when it happened in WWE 5 years ago? Or the ratings are down for AEW, but they're also down for the WWE. Or merchandise is down. It's always this, what about them? What about them? Here's the thing, people, which you have to understand. AEW has only been around for 5 years. The WWE has been around for what, Dave? 60, 70 years now?
Yes.
They have proven time and time again that they can weather any storm. So when you see the valleys that, you know, you have your peaks, you have your valleys in your wrestling companies. When you're going through a valley, when you take a look at the WWE, you really don't buy into it too much because you've seen how many valleys they've been through already and how they've come out smelling like roses on the other end, or just came out of it, period, and were able to rebound. Eric Bischoff almost put the WWE out of business, period. Vince McMahon was able to weather that storm and come back with something called the Attitude Era, which will be talked about until the day until me and you are off this planet. So when we take a look at AEW now and some of the peaks and valleys that they go through, and we analyze the valleys, the reason we put it under a microscope so much is, can they weather this storm? It's not to say, oh, look at what's going on with them. Ha, 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 you're going to fail. We never do that. It's how do they weather this storm? That's why you cannot make the comparison to AEW and WWE in any way, shape, or form. Because whether it was the federal government coming down on Vince McMahon or Eric Bischoff and Ted Turner practically putting him out of business, or just bad creative and bad business. There was a time there, Dave, right before the Attitude Era, where WWE just sucked, right?
No, I was
bad creative.
I was
the times of the gimmick people like the
yes,
Goons, the TL Hoppers. No disrespect to these guys, but the Man Towers, like, come on, that's just the company not providing their fan base with a good product. That's no government. That's not competition. That's just, you guys had were not hitting on all cylinders at that time, but they were able to weather that storm and come out on the other side.
And Bully, let's face it, the reason we got AEW in the first place was because fans wanted an alternative because they were unhappy with what the WWE was giving them. I mean, Bully, as you said, you and I would come on the air on a Tuesday and we would ask each other, how many times did you fall asleep watching Raw last night? Those were legit conversations. They were a couple of weeks, Bully, if you remember, that we came on a Tuesday and didn't talk about Monday Night Raw the night before. We reviewed an old Nitro and an old Raw instead.
We just couldn't. We couldn't find enough positive, or we couldn't find anything that we were passionate enough about. And we didn't want to come on here and just bash. Because let me tell you something, Dave. I've been in the wrestling industry for 30 years now. And I've endured a lot of valleys also. Thank God, more peaks than valleys. But the last thing I need to do for my own mental health is talk negatively about pro wrestling. I don't do well when I talk negatively about pro wrestling. It actually gives me anxiety, and I get frustrated because I do love my industry so much, and I do get frustrated at some of the mistakes I'm seeing and how they can be fixed. And when you've been brought up in the industry like I have, and you've had the benefit of learning from the minds that I have, and you see the problem right there in front of you, and you know how to fix it, and you can help fix it, but maybe somebody doesn't want help fixing it, it's very frustrating. So I hate it. I want to come on here with you. I want to put the talent over. I want to put the stories over. I want to talk about Phoebe Cates. I want to talk about rock and roll. I want to talk about fun shit, pro wrestling, and have a blast with the nation.
All right. And so what do you say tomorrow? Because it's me, you, and Tommy. Maybe we dive in. 5 years is a milestone. This week.
No. Here's what I want for tomorrow. I want Tony Kahn to come on with us tomorrow. End of story.
I bully, but I can't guarantee you that we could get Tony Kahn on.
No, I'm just saying, in my perfect world, if he won't, if he's not going to come on, I just want to extend the invitation myself. So that's all I'm doing. I'm on behalf of myself, Bully Ray, to Tony Kahn. Tony, me, Dave, and Tommy and Mark. If you don't want to come on after dark with just me, come on with me, Dave, and Tommy, and let's talk some fun AEW stuff.